Stained, the band that dragged raw emotion kicking and screaming into mainstream rock. Formed in '95, they blew up in the early 2000s with Break the Cycle, a monster record that hit number one, sold millions, and gave us It's Been a While, brutally honest lyrics, heavy riffs, enchanting melodies. Stained owned the post-grunge scene with multiple chart-topping albums and over 15 million records sold. After years away, they came back swinging in 2023 with their latest album, Confessions of the Fallen.
Bring out the love inside of me.
Welcome back to The Heavy Frequency. Music is supposed to make you feel things, good or bad, I think. A lot of the music and if you're subscribed to my channel, probably you as well, listen to, it tends to be quite angry music or quite cathartic music. Stained is a very unique band as far as I'm concerned, because Stained make me feel things that no other band does. And there are multiple reasons for that, and we'll get into them. So a lot of the music I listen to tends to be quite angry, upbeat, energetic stuff. But there are certain times where I want to listen to something that helps me release emotions more than anything else. Recently I've had a bit of a tough time for reasons that I won't go into, but things have been a little bit tough for me recently. And lately I've been listening to Stained quite a lot because they're the only band that really matches my mood recently. You know, when I'm feeling kind of somber and down, I don't necessarily want someone screaming in my face or, you know, double pedal or heavy, fast-paced music. Sometimes I want something that just helps me feel. And Stained is a very unique band because Stained's music allows me to feel. I'll explain what I mean.
But I'm on the outside.
Stained often addresses things that I grew up with. You know, broken home, divorce, parental abuse, psychological abuse. It's similar to Korn in a sense, and as a lot of you will know, I'm a big Korn fan. But Korn is cathartic in a different way. Korn's like punching a pillow, whereas Stained is like crying into the pillow. Sort of a weird analogy that I just thought of. I think for a lot of people it's the same thing. You know, we don't necessarily listen to Stained because it's such great fun music to listen to, and I think that's something that a lot of people who will criticize Stained don't really understand. And in a similar way with Korn, when someone says to me, I just don't get Korn, I just don't relate to it, I don't understand it, I often think to myself, good for you, because that probably means that you had a very different childhood to me, where things were very tough and unpredictable and volatile, and music was, in a sense, an escape from that kind of thing. When I was going through this, actually, in the early 2000s, I wasn't really that into Stained, to be honest. They were okay, I saw them on MTV and stuff, but because of the stuff I was seeking at the time, it really didn't grip me that much. However, in recent years, in like the 2020s, the late teens, I started, for whatever reason, whether it was nostalgia or something, I don't know, but I started listening to Stained more, really listening to the lyrics, and it was like, ooh, that's hitting a nerve with me. I think through my years of going to therapy and stuff like this, I've addressed a lot of the things that were laying dormant in me throughout my 20s, for example. So now listening to Stained, I'm like, it is another form of therapy for me, and it makes me feel like I'm not alone, and there's someone out there that understands. Maybe you feel the exact same way, maybe that's why you're watching this video, and if so, hello. I know what it's like. In recent years, when I have found myself in these periods of being in a bit of a funk, or just being sick of everything, we all have those times, I'm sure. My brain goes, listen to Stained. It's not even like a conscious thing, like what shall I listen to, going through a bunch of artists and then choose Stained. It's like, it's Stained specifically that I reach for in these times, like right now. I've seen certain comments on Stained's YouTube videos where I'm like, okay, it's not just me that's feeling this way. I will share a few of those with you. Some of them are a bit tough to read, but it just shows how powerful this band is for a certain demographic of people who experience certain things which not everyone did. So there's a lot of talk these days about toxic masculinity. I don't necessarily buy into all of it, but something that I have become chronically aware of in my later years is I don't think it's healthy for anyone, but particularly men, to suppress their feelings. And us as men, again, maybe something, if you're a dude, maybe you can relate to this. Like, boys don't cry, man up, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, all that kind of stuff, which isn't helpful. And whether you agree with that sentiment or not is kind of irrelevant when you've been brought up that way, you've been programmed to react that way, or to not react that way, I guess, to just stuff it down and move on. I think that's very unhealthy. For me, listening to Stained, hearing Aaron Lewis's voice is saying, it's okay, you can feel these things, and you don't have to hide them. Or at the very least, you can address them in your own way, in your own space. You don't have to run around the street crying, but if you want to, have a little moment to yourself, then you can do that, and it's fine. And in a time like today, with toxic masculinity being, big buzzword type stuff, I think music that allows particularly guys to do that, I think that's very valuable. And there's not many bands in my life that have that same effect. And this wasn't a conscious thing that was like, I'm going to use this band as a key to unlocking my emotions or anything like that. It was just, the more I listened to it, I don't know if it's the melodies or the tone of Aaron Lewis's voice, which I think is very beautiful. It just started coming out of me without me really consciously trying to be more emotional in that moment. It's just the music drags it out of me. And in a time, talking about the whole, stuffing down your emotions thing, when I don't know if this is just me, maybe not, when I feel like, I just want to cry, I just want to get some stuff out, I will listen to Stained, some very specific songs by Stained, and it'll just all flow out of me, uncontrollably. And it's like rinsing all the pent-up sadness and stuff that I've been squashing out of my system, and then I can move on. I can't move on with this, this thing in me, like, holding me down. It's stopping me from being able to do things I enjoy, or to go out and socialize, or stuff like that. Like that, you hold on to that stuff, it will drag you down, and there's no going around it. I mean, unless you become an alcoholic, but that's not really a productive avenue. As an alternative to that, Stained is what I will use in those times. And there's no other band that I can do that with. So there's a couple of songs here that I would like to just read out the lyrics to you. One which is Fade, which is off Break the Cycle, and the other one is Lowest in Me, which is off their latest album, Confessions of the Fallen. And these are lyrics that choke me up because they're so relatable. This part is the chorus of Fade. I just needed someone to talk to, you were just too busy with yourself. You were never there for me to express how I felt, I just stuffed it down. Now I'm older and I feel like I could let some of this anger fade, but it seems the surface I'm scratching is the bed that I have made. Chills, just reading that. Fade is one of my favorite Stained songs because it's incredibly relatable, these lyrics. They go into, a parent being so despondent and maybe having their own mental health issues where they can't empathize with their child for one reason or another. I experienced that a lot with my dad. I had to stuff things down, I wasn't really aware of it at the time because I was a child or a teenager. You're not really smart enough to understand what you're doing to yourself, in a sense. But when I hear these lyrics, it really gets to me every time. I wouldn't say Aaron Lewis is the greatest lyricist in the world, but he has moments of just nailing shit that couldn't be worded in a more poetic or hitting a nerve kind of way for me. And this song is one of them. The other one, Lowest in Me, I'll get the lyrics up now. I mean, in Lowest in Me, there is one simple line, just one line that always hits me, which is the start of the chorus, which is, you bring out the lowest that I have in me.
Bring out the lowest that I have
You know, there's been times where I've argued with, yes, my dad, but also another very specific person who I'm not going to name. I get caught up in these arguments with these people. Afterwards, I think to myself, like, that isn't me, that person that was speaking in that conversation. You know, you say stupid stuff when you're angry, and then you look back at it and you go, why the hell did I say that? I believe, anyway, we all have a low version of ourselves who would just throw caution to the wind and consume substances and live a hedonistic lifestyle and just treat everyone badly just because we can. I believe that is within everyone, but there's also the other side of us that wants to be nice to people and look after ourselves. And in these kind of disputes and arguments with people, I feel like that version of us comes out. This isn't me all the time, you know, but when I argue with you in this way, you bring out the lowest in me. Like, I have thought that myself, and then, god damn it, Aaron Lewis, you write that lyric. Incredibly relatable, and something that I really try to avoid. Seeing the line, I try to hold back all the anger, but it's a trigger and I can't relax.
Gotta hold back all the anger, but it's a trigger.
It's so simple, but it's so accurate in certain situations. Sadly. I don't know if it's the way he writes his lyrics or what, but there's no other lyricist that I've come across. Maybe early Linkin Park kind of dealt with similar stuff like this, but Linkin Park didn't do it in the same way as Stained does it for me now. This is the beauty of writing what some people will call like vague lyrics, where they're not talking about anything specific. You know, they're talking in quite loose terms. But the brilliance of that, so many different people can apply it to so many different things or people, that it makes it more relatable than it would be if it was being super specific, you know? So I don't personally have any problem with vague lyrics because I can morph it into what I want it to mean. I will put here a few screenshots of comments that I've seen on YouTube. These, I can't remember which song it was from, but all of these are just on the song Fade. I read these comments and it chokes me up, because not only is it something really emotional to read, but really relatable to me as well. So it has a sort of Inception level relatability. Like these lyrics are incredibly relatable to me and to someone else who I've never met. And so their comment, them expressing how they feel about these lyrics, I also find relatable. This is why this band is so special to me, because of relatability and because of, I mean, obviously the riffs are heavy and everything, sure, but the reason why I titled this video the way I did is because they make me feel like I'm allowed to feel. There's very few bands that do that.
Away from the burden, the cycle of hurting.
Some people have said that music like Stained, or Stained specifically, was so depressing, it just makes me sad, like, doesn't it make you feel worse about whatever you're going through? And the simple answer is no. If I'm in a great mood, and everything's going perfectly well, and I'm on top of the world, then sure, I'm probably not going to listen to Stained. But when I am down, you know, maybe I don't feel like I want to talk to anyone about what I'm going through, Stained will allow me to escape that funk, like I mentioned. And if you don't get that, then fine. You listen to whatever makes you feel better when you're sad. But for some of us, we just need a release and to just move on and not hold on to this feeling. And without this band, I would really struggle to do that. There's something uniquely melancholic and cathartic about Aaron Lewis's voice.
So this is it. I say goodbye to this chapter of my ever-changing life.
And I'm not going to get into his politics, because that's not what we're here to talk about. He is kind of a case where I really have to separate the art from the artist. That aside, I've always thought that Aaron Lewis has an amazing voice, a really unique voice, and perfectly meshed with the sound that Stained, the band, create. You know, he's not going to be making huge happy pop songs because it doesn't suit his voice, I don't think. It would be interesting to hear him try, but I don't think it would be very good because he just has this natural, and they figured it out so quickly in their career that he matches this sort of grungy, oppressive sadness. Like he suits that tone. There are very few bands that do ballads that I like. Very, very few. What I mean by that is there are bands that I enjoy, but I'll skip their ballads, you know. But Stained is like basically the only one where their ballads I will listen to, but in specific circumstances. Because if I'm walking down the street or something and something to remind you comes on, I'm not listening to that because I don't want to be breaking down in the street, you know. But if I'm in one of these times, like quite recently and currently, where I need that release, it's like the perfect song to listen to in that situation. For reasons I shall not be going into, it has become a very, very significant song in my life.
The road is long, just one more song, a little something to remind you when I'm gone, when I'm gone.
Talking of, you know, transitioning from one phase of life to a completely new phase of life. Again, very relatable, that song. And this is all to say, Stained is not one of my favourite bands. They wouldn't be in my top 10 bands of all time. They do have some of my favourite songs of all time, but, you know, that's going to be like, it's going to have to be a top 100 or 500 songs. You know, they'll be in there somewhere. Because Stained are so mood specific, I don't listen to them very often. But when I need a band that sounds like Stained, they're the only one that I will go to. It's very imbalanced, the amount that I listen to them. And it's kind of hard to explain, really. My favourite albums of theirs are going to be, obviously, Break the Cycle, Basic Bitch, but, you know, an obvious, very, very good album. And 14 Shades of Grey. They're kind of... It's kind of 50-50, which is my favourite of those two, to be honest. Confessions of the Fallen, the newest album, I think is so good. When it first came out, I was like, yeah, this is good, this is solid. Excellent return to form. But then the more I listened to it, the better it became. I was surprised how much it grew on me, and still continues to grow on me. I keep going back to Confessions of the Fallen. It still keeps growing on me. So if you've not listened to it, you really, really should. And the only album of theirs that I actually don't really like is The Illusion of Progress, because for me that album it's sort of like an album that I would draw a parallel to is Results May Vary by Limp Bizkit. You know, it's very, very mid, it sort of drags its heels along, not very memorable. Chapter 5, good, no complaints really. They are very consistent. They do have some skippers on each album, I will say, but overall a pretty sort of 7.5 out of 10 discography overall. So not bad. There's just chunks of it that I can live without. Yeah, top 3, Break the Cycle, 14 Shades of Grey, and Confessions of the Fallen. It's actually kind of becoming my favourite Stained album, which I really wasn't expecting when it came out. But again, really relatable lyrics, and I really like the sort of introduction of electronic elements as well. That works for me, and I think really suits Stained. More than, you know, if they were to go like fully acoustic or something, I wouldn't enjoy that, I don't think. So please, if you clicked on this video and you watched until now, and you also find Stained relatable in a way that you can't quite explain, then leave a comment down below and let me know, because I will really appreciate hearing from you that I'm not alone in feeling this way about Stained. Like I said, some people find it very dreary and very overly melancholic or whatever, but those people just don't get it. Those people never had the upbringings that I guess we had, and can never understand it. And, you know, good for them. I'm happy for them. I feel like people dismiss Stained unfairly, just because it's unrelatable. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope it's been relatable and maybe somewhat cathartic to watch. If you're new to the channel, then consider subscribing. And if you're already subscribed, thank you for being here. If you wish, you can support me on Buy Me a Coffee, and I have a merch store. I've still not thought of how to end videos yet though, so I'm just going to say, go away.